Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. In a previous video I was trying to get this machine to run correctly, which I eventually did. It had everything to do with that little rubber pipe, little rubber tube over there. And today I'm going to be taking the whole carburetor off for a good clean, and I'm just going to explain again, in case you missed it the first time, I'm just going to explain again how exactly how it works. So first off, from this side here, that is with the choke completely closed up, and as soon as you open it, you will notice that there is a hole there which goes straight into the carburetor, and there's another hole at the top over there. And now looking at it from the side, you can see a little shaft over there. And if I put a screwdriver underneath that shaft, you can actually see I can raise it like that. And now I'll have a closer look at the top of that shaft. There's two little screws on the top here. And when I take the screws out, you'll see that that little top cover plate is actually spring loaded. Here's the little spring inside. So first of all I can just remove that little gasket, and then I can take the spring out. And if I push that shaft up from the bottom, I can take it out the top. And now looking from the air filter side, you can see that the little shaft inside there, and air is able to pass by on either side. But as soon as I drop it, you'll actually see the rubber part will actually close that opening completely, blocking all air. So the way I understand it, when the engine is at high revs and it needs a lot of air, it causes a vacuum in this pipe over here. It causes a vacuum in this pipe. It raises this little shaft with the rubber plug on the top, and it lets in extra air. And when the air is no longer required, because there's a spring on the top of this, it actually pushes down again and blocks off access to this pipe. So now I'm just going to continue and take the whole carburetor off and give it a good clean. Now I'll take out the two screws. Right, so I have the carburetor on the table. The first thing I'm going to do is take off the cover for the primer bulb, just 4 little screws. And with the screws out, I can just take the top off. And now I'm going to be taking off the diaphragm. And when you replace this, you will notice that there is a little gasket underneath. So when you replace it, you put the gasket on first, and then you put the diaphragm on top. I'm not going to separate them because they seem to be stuck together, and sometimes the gasket can be quite fragile. So I'll just leave them together like that. And now I'm going to be taking off the next section, which has the metering lever. I'll take that off, and that exposes the next diaphragm. And then a gasket. If you have a look at the top of the carburetor, you'll see there's a little brass circle there. That's actually a needle. I'm not going to take this one out, but I'll show you on this other carburetor that I can just And when I turn that mechanism on top, you'll notice inside it actually opens up to allow more air in, and you can see the top of that needle going into the main jet. If you have a look at that gap there, it raises itself, and in doing so it raises that little brass needle there, and it allows more fuel to come through the main jet. I'm just going to take this little plastic plug out. So now I'm going to go through the whole carburetor with my carburetor cleaner and spray into every single hole that I can see. Before you start cleaning this part with the carburetor cleaner, just make sure you take out that little fuel filter, because once that gets this area here is called the metering chamber. This is the metering lever. When the diaphragm comes and pushes down, it releases the needle valve, which is over there, allowing fuel to enter the chamber. To remove this, there's a little spring underneath here, so be very careful it doesn't shoot out and you lose it. You just hold that lever down. There's a little screw in the corner here. And you very slowly release your finger so the spring doesn't shoot. That hole over there is to the main jet. There's another little hole on the side which is for the high-speed jet. So once again I'm going to spray carb cleaner into all the holes. Clear out all the little passages. Now I'm going to replace the needle valve into its position. It's also important to check the height of the lever. It has to be level with the sides. So what I do, I have a knife, a blade, and I rest it on both sides and then push it across. There's also an adjusting screw on the side here. This takes a 21 spline tool, and I put that in and I close it completely, turning it clockwise, and I count the number of half turns or quarter turns if you wish, so you can always get back to the original setting. So I'm going to turn it inwards now, 1.5, 1 3/4, and that's all the way in. So now I can take it out completely. And I'll give that a good clean as well. So now I'll turn it all the way back to the beginning until it bottoms out, and then turn it back 1 3/4. Little mesh filter back on again. Put it in place. Press it down with a socket, or sometimes the back of a pencil works very nicely. So now I can start putting stuff back together. First of all, I'm going to put the gasket on and the diaphragm. Then this part with the metering chamber on the other side. Now I'll put the diaphragm on top. Remember, there is a gasket first underneath, and then the diaphragm goes on top. And then I'm going to put the primer bulb holder on top of that. Actually, wrong way around. There we go. And then the screws. So anyway, everyone, hope this helps, and thank you for watching.